So, what do an ancient Chinese bronze mirror, a massive shin-kicking brawl, and Hollywood superstar Ryan Reynolds all have in common? Yeah, I know, it sounds like the setup to a really weird joke, but trust me on this. The answer actually lies at the very heart of the biggest, most popular cultural phenomenon on the planet.
Welcome to this explainer. We're going on a fast-paced, totally kinetic journey through the history, the crazy evolution, and the intensely debated future of football. Because whether you call it football or soccer, this game has completely transformed. We're talking a leap from ancient rituals all the way to a modern, multi-billion-dollar global empire.
All right, here's our roadmap for today. First, ancient origins in China. Second, the Great Football Split. Third, America's soccer awakening. Fourth, the Biennial World Cup. Fifth, revenue versus player welfare. And finally, number 6, the future of football. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. Ancient Origins in China, the Art and Elegance of Cuju.
Now, if you thought early football was just a bunch of rowdy villagers kicking a rock around a muddy field, well, you're in for a massive surprise. Consider the incredible artifacts we have from the Song Dynasty depicting a game called Cuju. Cuju literally translates to kickball, and it was deeply, deeply woven into Chinese culture. But here is the really cool part. It was remarkably inclusive. Historical bronze mirrors actually show men and women playing Cuju together. So far from being this rigidly gendered hyper-masculine activity, this proves Cuju gave women a unique opportunity to participate in public life right alongside the men.
And the way they played? It was incredibly deliberate, like almost graceful. We have this poetic instruction from an ancient Cuju manual that reads, "The body upright like a brush, the heart and mind unconstrained and at ease. The kicks slow and not hurried." They weren't just desperately trying to score a goal. They were practicing a specific, non-competitive version called Baida. It was all about absolute control, perfect posture, and pure entertainment. They were literally instructed to keep their hands down and their kicks totally unhurried. It's like a giant puzzle of balance and art.
Moving on to Section 2, the Great Football Split, when hacking divided the game.
All right, let's fast forward a few centuries and jump over to Europe. That beautiful elegance of ancient Cuju, yeah, that got completely thrown out the window. Listen to this 16th century quote. It perfectly captures the vibe of early British football. "Wherein is nothing but beastly fury and extreme violence, whereof proceedeth hurt." Basically, early English football was a chaotic, brutal mob game. It was so intense and so violent that writers back then were warning it just caused malice and serious injuries, and even suggested the game should be put into perpetual silence.
Eventually, all that extreme violence forced a massive reckoning. In 1863, a bunch of clubs met up at the Freemasons Tavern in London to finally unify the rules. But they ran into a wall over a tactic called hacking. And yes, hacking literally meant tripping your opponent by violently kicking them right in the shins. Ouch. The association football guys wanted to ban hacking to prioritize safety and order. But the rugby football crowd, led by a guy named Francis Maule Campbell, fiercely defended it. Campbell argued that if you banned shin kicking, you'd destroy the courage and pluck of the sport. And you know what? Because they absolutely could not agree on kicking each other in the shins, the club split for good. And that's exactly how we got the two distinct sports of soccer and rugby that we know today.
Which brings us to Section 3, America's Soccer Awakening, capitalizing on the beautiful game.
So let's jump to the modern era and look at how this ancient game evolved into a massive global industry, specifically zeroing in on a totally unexpected frontier, the United States. Think about the number 17.7 billion. For the longest time, the U.S. sports scene was completely monopolized by the NFL, basketball, and baseball. Soccer really struggled to get a foot in the door. But the streaming era changed everything. That 17.7 billion, that is the staggering number of streaming minutes Peacock recorded just for the English Premier League alone. American interest isn't just growing, it's absolutely exploding right now.
And hey, where American eyeballs go, American wallets are absolutely going to follow. We are seeing high-profile stateside money pumping into global soccer at an unprecedented rate. You've got Bill Foley, the owner of the Vegas Golden Knights, buying AFC Bournemouth. You've got actor Michael B. Jordan jumping in as a minority owner. And of course, the absolute masterclass in marketing, Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney turning Wrexham into a global reality TV phenomenon. American capital is aggressively fueling the worldwide growth of the beautiful game.
All right, Section 4, the Biennial World Cup, reimagining the global football calendar.
With all this fresh global attention and cash swirling around, FIFA, the international governing body, has obviously been looking for ways to capitalize. Spearheaded by Arsene Wenger, their chief of global football development, a massive proposal was floated. The idea? Change the World Cup from a quadrennial event, meaning every 4 years, to a biennial one, meaning every 2 years. And the math behind this proposal is pretty staggering. Projections show a biennial World Cup would bump up media rights revenue by $3.4 billion and sponsorship revenue by another $1.3 billion in just the very first cycle. The logic from the boardroom is simple. More meaningful matches equal massive commercial exposure, which equals unprecedented financial returns.
But let's be real, the fans aren't naive to what's going on here. According to a super detailed academic survey we looked at for this explainer, a massive 81.3% of respondents believe the primary reason FIFA is pushing this change is, well, just to make more money. Only a tiny 4.7% fraction actually believe the goal is to genuinely make football more popular.
And even with the tempting prospect of getting to watch a World Cup twice as often, fans are pushing back hard. The divide is incredibly stark. 84% of surveyed fans want to keep the World Cup exactly as it is, on its traditional 4-year cycle. They desperately want to protect the rarity and the prestige of the event.
That takes us to Section 5, Revenue versus Player Welfare, the physical cost of a busy calendar.
Because this debate is not just about boardroom economics. There is a very real human element here. The pushback from the athletes themselves has been immense. Now, objectively speaking, the potential benefits do include massive revenue boosts, more chances for smaller nations to actually qualify, and a short-term employment spike for host countries. But you have to weigh those against some pretty severe drawbacks. High economic pressure on those host nations, the potential cannibalization of women's tournament revenues, and above all else, extreme player fatigue and physical injury.
I mean, the injury data is just alarming. In the 2020 to 2021 season alone, Real Madrid suffered a staggering 70 player injuries. Across the whole Premier League, players missed out on over 11,000 days due to injury before the international break that same year. That's insane. Superstars like Kylian Mbappe and Robert Lewandowski are actively speaking out against the biennial tournament, warning everyone that the modern schedule simply does not give them enough time for physical rest and mental recovery.
And you know what? The fans are totally backing the players on this one. Almost 3/4 of surveyed fans, 72.7% to be exact, believe that a biennial World Cup will lead directly to more fatigue and serious health issues for the athletes. The general consensus is pretty clear. You just cannot double the workload of peak-performing humans without eventually breaking them.
Plus, there is another major collateral concern. The data points to a very real fear regarding the women's game. 46% of fans believe a biennial men's tournament would actively hurt the revenues of women's football tournaments, and another 34% say it might. The big fear here is that a totally saturated men's calendar will just overshadow the rapidly growing women's sport and siphon away crucial sponsorship dollars.
Which brings us to our final part, Section 6, the future of football, magic versus monetization. We are basically at the ultimate crossroads for the most beloved sport in human history. So what does all this do to the legacy of the game? Well, when asked how a biennial tournament would affect the World Cup's brand value, the majority, 52.7%, said it will be diluted. And in a related question, a massive 89.3% noted that a 2-year cycle would strip away the unique excitement and the agonizing anticipation of that 4-year wait. By trying to sell the magic twice as often, FIFA is risking destroying the very rarity that makes it so magical in the first place.
Which leaves us with this final, really profound question. From the mindful, elegant kicks of ancient Chinese Cuju, through the literal shin-bruising battles of medieval England, all the way to the billions of dollars flowing from modern American boardrooms, football has survived it all. But will the relentless pursuit of revenue ultimately dilute the magic of the beautiful game? The data strongly suggests that fans and players are drawing a line in the turf, proving that sometimes less truly is more. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep your eye on the pitch.